Many of you guys know World of Warcraft is an MMO, right? But not a lot of people play this game as an MMO. The multiplayer side of WoW has honestly become optional. A lot of people play this game solo now, and many players enjoy the solo side of things. Is that okay? Is that good for the game? I don't know, but we all know. Like, I talk about Greg from accounting all the time, one of my good friends, right? Greg has an abusive wife. He can't play this game at normal hours. So what Greg does is every day he goes and grinds out his IRL daily quests. He goes to work, underpaid, but extremely highly utilized at work, right? He's a genius. The guy does his thing. He comes home. He deals with his wife, makes sure he takes care of his home responsibilities. And then, once his wife is away and at bed, and his kids are out spending his money, doing whatever the fuck they're doing, God knows what his daughter and son are out doing these days. They're at college, he's paying for all that shit, completely funds them. Greg gets away into his basement, and he runs his delves, and he does his dailies. And Greg just plays this game solo these days. But Greg's happy with it, as many players are. Is it good for the game? How many players are playing this game solo right now? Let's jump into some of this stuff here with Nikara War.
Over time, both World of Warcraft and every other MMO will eventually fade away. Player numbers will dwindle, new updates will come out rarely, and these worlds will live on only in the hearts of nostalgic fans.
Nah, I don't know about that. This video's off to a rough start. WoW dying? That's never going to happen. Come on. Come on. No, honestly, I imagine just this game iterating on itself so many times over that maybe it's not recognizable from what it originally was, but I can't imagine it really going away. I just think it's kind of always going to be there. Shit, we might be playing WoW VR for all I know one day, but yeah, it's guaranteed to go away. Yeah, maybe. Maybe not.
Yet that same atmosphere of loneliness and decay can already be felt today. You only need to look at dead servers or old MMOs whose glory days are long gone. But the most fascinating...
Greg needs more backstory. I'll give Greg more backstory, but I gotta ask him permission first to tell some of his stories.
But isn't there emptiness? It's the people who remain. Why do lonely players keep logging in, even when the total population barely reaches double digits? In this video, I want to show and tell the story of life on World of Warcraft's dead servers, and in dying, but not yet fully abandoned, MMO worlds. Retail World of Warcraft, Classic Pandaria, Legion Remix, Season of Discovery, Hardcore, and Era servers. Today, players have more ways than ever to experience World of Warcraft.
It's true.
But with so many different modes available, the community has become scattered across countless realms. Unsurprisingly, many of those servers are now effectively dead. Blizzard doesn't shut them down, but their populations are reduced to a tiny handful of lost adventurers. A particularly sad story unfolded on the chaos.
It is sad. Look, I'm a multiplayer enjoyer. I love the game when there's a lot of people playing the game. I've said it before, like, optimal WoW would be a mega server. I just wish everybody was on the same server. I really do. For me, my favorite moments in the game oftentimes are like when a big, like, world event is up or something's going on, whatever, if it's a holiday event or whatever, that just brings everybody into a single zone. I hate the way Blizzard shards the shit out of these zones now, where you phase between different versions, where there's like 10,000 people in a zone or something, or not 10,000 maybe, 200, say, people in a zone, but you don't see them until you join a group, and then all of a sudden it fades in. You're like, oh my God, there's a lot of people here. Why wasn't Blizzard making this available to me? Because all the stupid sharding shit that they do to keep their servers keep their server costs down. I don't know what. But overall, I wish there was more multiplayer side of things. I wish they would merge some servers together, if anything. Or just, in reality, I would love a mega server, but I just don't know if tech's there yet.
Bolt realm in the Season of Discovery. When it first launched, the season was something truly unique. New mechanics, class-changing rune systems, that dramatic...
Blizzard would need to own its own power plants in order to have one big mega server. I don't think it takes that. I think it takes a new type of technology, and I think... I always forget its name, but there's that space game, and they were able to basically create a mega server via multiple servers. So they were able to create a game basically where different zones in the game were run by a single server. So imagine right now, like, I play on Kel'Thuzad. That's built up of 4 different, it's a group of realms, right, that play on a single server. The version of what they've created in this, someone needs to tell me the fucking name in chat. It's No Man's Sky? Is it No Man's Sky? I don't know, god damn it. But it's basically where, imagine a game where each zone is its own server. So Elwyn Forest has a server. Stormwind has a server. And what this game basically did was they created a way where you seamlessly transfer between servers when going through a zone without any loading screen, anything happen. other than the servers being perfectly coded to hand off a player from one server to another. You notice nothing. There's no clipping. There's nothing happening when you transfer servers, but the load is being transferred from one server to another when you head to another zone. Yeah, it's called layers. It's called layers, but layering's different. This layering is still happening. The servers, the server that is running Kel'Thuzad right now is a single server. The way that this works is multiple servers running a world. It's a bit different. Yeah, look at these graphics. Yeah, I know, right? It's a different tech, and it would allow basically to have a mega server essentially built up with multiple servers.
Altered gameplay, and even original quests and storylines. At first, the influx of players was enormous, but as time went on, people either left or concentrated on the more populated servers. Chaos Bolt had been opened to ease the load on launch day, yet ended up as a half-dead realm where everyone knew each other. There was still a small but loyal community, until Blizzard made a decision that sealed the realm's fate. The server was locked. Technically, it remained online and playable for those who already had characters there, but new players could no longer create characters or join the realm. In practice, this meant a slow death. Even potential newcomers who wanted to start on Chaos Bolt simply couldn't. Blizzard offered free transfers to 2 other Season of Discovery
the free
realms,
transfer shit
and many
happens
took the
when servers
opportunity
die.
to leave. The company explained that the realm's population had dropped too low to ensure a good gameplay experience.
Right.
For some players, that death came shockingly fast. One person returned to the game after just 3 months.
I remember when I first made a tune in WoW, like 20 years ago, whatever it is now. I played on Malorn. It was a server with a very low population, but if you remember when you first started playing WoW, it used to suggest you make a character on these low pop servers. I don't know why. I mean, I guess they were trying to fill them up. But so I just listened to Blizzard's suggestion. I was like, pick a server for, I don't know what the fuck this is. Pick me a server. And it picked Malorn. And that server's population got so low during Burning Crusade that I transferred. I was like, and it wasn't because I couldn't play the game. It was just like the cities felt empty and I didn't like that. And I saw other people on YouTube playing in other cities that were like, wow, this is full. What the hell? So I transferred. And back then to Kel'Thuzad, and I had been on Kel'Thuzad for a long time. I also played on Shattered Hand for a little bit too. I think I went Shattered Hand then Kel'Thuzad. But I transferred off of it because the pop was so low.
One person returned to the game after just 3 months and found their realm already dead.
Well, back then there were no
Another,
queues. It
who
was
had played during
/2.
The first phase of the Season
Trade
of
chat.
Discovery came back for Phase 3, only to find that no one was left. When he visited Orgrimmar, the Horde's capital, it was completely empty. Only 2 players were present in the city, and just 33 Horde members online in total. Some took advantage of the situation. Farmers and botters began exploiting the lack of competition to strip the world of
bots
resources before transferring away. Yet, despite the bleak circumstances, Chaos Bolt still had a small, dedicated community, mostly Horde players. There was even a guild called Chaos Bolt Loyalists, formed by the few who had survived and chosen to remain. Why would people stay in such guilds on dying servers?
That's funny.
The reasons are countless, and I've explored them in other
One
videos.
thing I will say about playing on Malorn, which was like very low pop, was everybody knew everybody. And remember, this was like when servers were completely isolated. There was no like package of servers playing together, or I mean package of realms playing together. It was just your realm, and there was no cross realm anything. So we played on Malorn. You knew everybody. Like I remember the paladins that were famous on the server. I remember the rogues that were famous for ganking people on the server. Like you knew people by name. I would sit in Ironforge and I knew some of these people, even though I never personally like interacted with them. But I was like, oh my god, that's Kronos Karte. He was a badass paladin on the server. I remember him, badass paladin. I'm like, that's Kronos Karte. And I would see him sometimes in Ironforge, and like you just knew people by their names because you only played with those people on that server.
Videos about dead realms. But one of the main ones is simple. Some players actually enjoy being part of a tiny, tight-knit community where no one else is around. The entire economy, the events, the activity, everything revolves around them. They practically run the whole world. A similar situation occurred on Remulos, an oceanic realm. Its population had never been large, but as interest in Classic declined, things got truly dire. On the Era servers, a guild appeared with the goal of gathering the remaining Remulos players under one banner. It's a small group, but a friendly one. After months of effort,
cool.
They managed to assemble enough people to raid and clear Zul'Gurub, and according to their posts, they're still recruiting and surviving on the Dead Realm. The
Wow.
Romulus population on Classic Era hasn't fared much better.
Do classic servers, are they cross-server or are they isolated? Like the old way? I don't actually know. I'm not a classic Andy, but are they isolated? Because if they are, this is a pretty funny story then.
Here's what one player wrote.
Classic servers are
population
isolated.
has been
Okay,
steadily
interesting.
declining since mid-2023. According to Ironforge.pro, there are currently 96 Alliance players and 42 Horde players. As an Alliance member,
What?
I've noticed that both raiding and
There's like 150 players, 140 players on this server total? What the hell? It's a fucking ghost land. That's crazy.
leveling guilds have vanished since Cataclysm launched. Only about 5 raiding guilds remain, and none can clear heroic content. The first heroic...
Man, I wonder if Blizzard wants to shut down these servers, because that can't even be profitable. 150 players on a server. There's no way they're profiting from that server.
Ragnaros kill came only after the final patch, and a 30% nerf. I don't think there was ever a second one.
You're right, it is old
There
tech on a
aren't enough
server, so
players
it's probably
left to
not that
replenish
difficult.
guilds with new members. The auction house is nearly empty. No one mines ore, picks herbs, fishes, or does anything that keeps a server alive. This led one of the best remaining raid guilds to start encouraging everyone to transfer off the realm. It's heartbreaking to watch your server slowly die over the years, and to realize that one day, you might be the only one left.
True, there were two reasons, honestly, back when there was server isolation, why people transferred off of servers. One was low population. The other one was, especially on PvP servers, extreme faction imbalance. And that happened all the time. You saw, like, specific servers just became single faction, and that was it. Like, Kel'Thuzad always remained pretty balanced, and that was what was cool about it. A lot of world PvP happening on it. But there were a lot of servers. I think Mal'Ganis became, like, a very famous Alliance-only server. Like, we're talking about, like, it was shift over to, like, 98% of the server population be a single faction. Whereas, like, what was one that was very Horde? Was it Thunderbluff or something was very Horde? There were specific servers that you just knew. This is a Horde server, and this is an Alliance server, and you don't play the other faction on this one. And the other faction would slowly just transfer away. And there would be no more, or they would just make characters on the other faction and not play anymore. They would delete. And by the way, you were faction locked back then too. If you made a character on a certain server, you could only make that faction on that server. So that was a big thing too. So if you wanted to still play Alliance, you had to transfer off. You can't just stay, if you can't stay on a dead pop server for your own faction.
Sometimes, players venture onto dead World of Warcraft servers, not only for the quiet atmosphere and the small village feeling where everyone knows each other, but also for the sake of rare rewards. One of the best examples of this is the Scarab Lord. Arguably, one of the most prestigious titles and mounts ever attainable in the game. Earning it required extraordinary effort. A player seeking the mount had to complete one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult,
Man, I miss shit
in
like
the
this.
entire game, gather the support of dozens of guildmates, and spend countless hours farming.
This is badass.
Meanwhile, the entire server had to contribute by collecting massive quantities.
I remember we used to raid cities and stuff all the time, man. Like 40-man, 80-man raids. Like, because there was no cross-server shit going on. So if you could form up on a single server 2 40-man raids, you could go 80-man Orgrimmar. It would break the server. Shit would disconnect. You'd be fucking playing a PowerPoint presentation in Orgrimmar. Man, it was fun. It was fun.
Of resources, hundreds of thousands of materials to initiate the campaign to open the gates.
Yeah,
Thousands
J-Mal, I
of
think you
players
can.
dreamed of achieving this feat, but only a handful had the determination and organization to succeed. However, some clever players found ways to exploit the system by transferring to smaller or low population realms. Progress on such servers was naturally slow, and even by the time the Burning Crusade expansion launched, when most players were already adventuring through the Outland, a few realms still hadn't opened the gates of Anchirage, though resource gathering continued at a sluggish pace. As of April 2007, there were 8 such servers in the European region alone. According to old forum stories, one player even managed to steal the mount from a group of role players. The incident occurred on the low-population German RP realm Dia Aldor.
It would be RPers that would get shit stolen from them. Yeah, it would be. You can't steal shit from a PvPer because you get killed, but stealing from an RPer, yeah, that's easy.
The players weren't in a hurry to open the gates and were even planning a special
Back to Goldshire,
realm-wide event to celebrate. But then, a player who already possessed the scepter of the Shifting Sands transferred to their realm. He struck the gong on D. Aldor instead, triggering the event and claiming the Scarab Lord title for himself.
Oh my god.
The local community was furious. A similar opportunity...
He ninja looted the entire server. Oh man, that's sad.
rose later, right before the launch of Wrath of the Lich King. As World of Warcraft's player base exploded, Blizzard began opening many new realms to spread out the population. On those
I remember
realms,
that.
the gates of Ankiraj had not yet been opened, which meant that players could theoretically transfer there, complete the Scepter questline, and claim the legendary Scarab mount.
Man, I wonder if Blizzard will ever do anything this cool again. This was cool. Like, I didn't participate in it because I was a fucking noob back then. I didn't know what the hell I was doing back then to actually go out and get this achievement. I don't even think I was cap level in 2008. I think I was still doing level. I must have been running around in Ungoro Crater killing gorillas or something. But it was a badass achievement. Badass achievement, and I don't think it's ever been done anything like that since. And probably Blizzard thinks it'll kill servers if they freaking do something like this again.
Relatively easily. For instance, toward the end of the Burning Crusade, this became possible on the Russian realm Evasong. Later, the final opportunities appeared on Saurfang. As a result, hundreds of new Scarab Lords emerged across the world. The reward remained rare and impressive, but its prestige had inevitably diminished.
I am balding, yes. I am balding, and there's nothing I can do about it, okay? It's a receding. The front hairline is still intact. It's the back. I'm balding from the back. I don't know what to do about it.
Completing the grueling questline at level 80 with a few friends was simply not the same as rallying 40 people and leading them through it at the height of classic progression. When Classic WoW was released, Blizzard anticipated that players might once again try to transfer to low population realms to repeat the trick, or even sabotage the event to spite others. To prevent this, they introduced new transfer restrictions. For 90 days after a realm transfer, players were ineligible to receive the Scarab Lord rewards, even if they completed the entire questline. As a Blizzard representative explained on the forums,
I didn't know this.
We want to allow players to transfer, but those transfers should be made so they can play with their friends, not to interfere with the Scepter race on another realm.
Man, you guys remember when like Scarab Lord accounts used to be sold on eBay? I do. I remember that shit. And those accounts used to go for a lot. I don't know what the record is for selling an account on eBay, but I remember like Scarab Lord account like being a thing on eBay, and people would try to sell their accounts, and it was like, oh, a big deal if you bought a Scarab Lord account because you couldn't get it anymore. That was a big freaking deal. Did I choose to be bald? No. It's my fucking genetics.
If World of Warcraft's dead servers at least offer players a way out, allowing them to transfer from a dying realm to a lively populated one, many other MMO games don't have that luxury. In some of them, the entire player base consists of just a few dozen people, sometimes even fewer. Let's go back to the late 1990s, when online gaming and the internet itself were just starting to gain popularity. Young players were only beginning to explore the digital world, and many things that seem ordinary now felt revolutionary back then. One of the games born in that era was the now mostly forgotten Meridian 59, a title that many have probably never even heard of.
This is before my
Unlike
time.
Ultima Online, which managed to secure a lasting place in gaming history, Meridian 59 failed to achieve widespread recognition, but it remains notable for one major reason. It was the first 3D MMO ever made. By today's standards, in 2025, the game looks frankly quite rough. Its mechanics were also very different from what we're used to now.
I never heard of this game.
There were no character levels. Instead, players advanced through independent skill progression. The game also leaned heavily toward PvP combat. Naturally, when faced with competitors like EverQuest, World of Warcraft, and RuneScape, Meridian 59 simply couldn't keep up. It was shut down in the early 2000s and faded into memory, remembered only by the earliest pioneers of the genre. Years later, however, the original developers decided to release the game as open access, more as a living memorial than a true comeback. Few expected many players to actually return, and indeed, its Steam version currently has a player count of 2. That makes Meridian 59 arguably...
I thought he was about to be like, currently thousands of people play this game once again for nostalgic purposes, and the community's booming and everything. I thought that's where he's like, oh, it's got 2 guys playing it. It's got 2 guys. It's actually 1 guy on two computers. I thought this was going to be some kind of great comeback story.
The loneliest MMO still running after all these years. In 2024,
beats the Suicide Squad game.
An unexpected spike in attention, reaching a whopping 92 concurrent players on Steam. The credit for this resurgence likely goes to a Brazilian YouTuber.
What are they, just PvP? Who are these 2 fucking people? Are they PvPing each other infinitely? Caught in an epic duel of fates forever? Never to end, just fucking keeping the game alive with their 2 people. Oh my god.
Known as Professor Lee, who made a short video series documenting his experience trying to survive and thrive.
Two bots.
In
It's
a
actually
dead
two bots,
MMO.
probably.
He spent nearly 500 hours in the game, inspiring a handful of nostalgic gamers to revisit this relic of the past. The hype didn't last long, and the player count quickly dropped again, but it was still a memorable moment in the game's long, quiet history. Around the same time, Meridian 59 launched, another online title emerged, Active Worlds. Unlike traditional
Active
MMOs,
Worlds, I
it
don't
was
know what this
more
is.
of an online sandbox, allowing players to create their own worlds and explore those made by others. Almost 10 years ago,
So Roblox
Active
before
Worlds became
Roblox?
the site of a now famous and rather creepy incident. By then, the game's community had dwindled to a handful of players. A YouTuber and streamer decided to enter the game and see what was left. To his shock, he encountered a mysterious player who was still active. This person spoke in an unnerving, role-play-heavy manner, asking eerie questions like, "Are you lost?" At first, the streamer thought he was
fuck?
talking to an NPC or some kind of automated bot, but no, it turned out to be a real person, most likely trolling for fun. After all, what could be creepier than encountering a strange human
Probably someone from the streamer's community, I would guess, who's just trolling him.
player?
There's no way this
wandering
guy's been waiting all his life for somebody to show up.
around an entirely
It could have been
empty
AI,
area.
maybe.
Later, it was revealed that the mysterious figure was actually one of the streamer's viewers.
I know. Come on. I knew it.
And a former Active Worlds player who had seized the perfect opportunity to play a little prank. The story spread widely,
Pretty good one on his part,
briefly
though.
reviving interest in the game, though Active Worlds
Troll.
ultimately remained lifeless. A player named Glitchy SP, who joined the game in 2016, later wrote this on Reddit. "It saddens me that when I logged into Active Worlds this month, I found nobody there anymore. It's a shame, because I had some great times. I joined around 2016 and used to hang out in the main lobby, chatting with moderators and other players almost every day. When I came back in 2019, the game was empty. Honestly, it was emotional. I missed those days and even felt guilty for being away."
Sam, could you imagine if WoW ever became like that? Like you were just the last person in WoW and you just walked around empty cities, empty forests, empty towns. It would be sad. I'd probably get some nostalgia tears for sure. Yeah.
So long. There were no admins, no moderators to manage the servers, and no players. I
WoW is
saw
like
one,
that now?
But he was
Come on.
AFK. I miss that community and wish it would come back, even after 20 years. Now it's just a barren wasteland, and I sometimes
No more
wonder,
Sam.
why haven't they shut the servers down yet? I think it's a terrible feeling when you return to a game you loved as a child, only to find it empty. No one left, no voices, no life. And this is just one of many such stories in the industry. It's almost surprising that the game's community managed to endure for as long as it did. Another MMO, Rift, has fared slightly better. Set in a world plagued by dimensional rifts that spawn hordes of invading monsters, players had to band together to push them back. The concept and the ever-changing world won the game a loyal following. Even today, in 2025, a small but dedicated community continues to play despite the lack of updates. Unfortunately, poor management and directionless development eventually led to the game's decline. The developers were unprepared for their initial success and invested heavily in projects that never paid off. As a result, Rift suffered indirectly. It shifted from a subscription-based model to free-to-play, but introduced an aggressive microtransaction system, at one point allowing players to buy in-game currency for real money and use it to purchase endgame gear. A series of further poor decisions led the studio to downsize drastically and eventually sell the game to Gamigo. But Gamigo didn't acquire Rift to make it a hit. They did it to extract whatever profit remained with
that's
minimal
sad.
investment.
Oh, that's
Updates
sad.
became increasingly rare, and when they did appear, they were small tweaks rather than
Was it a
meaningful
great
new
game at one
content.
point? Some people
Full
are saying they used to
expansions
like it.
stopped releasing altogether after 2017. Essentially, the game was put into maintenance mode, alive but stagnant.
Really? Was
Servers
fantastic,
still
huh?
run and players can log in, but that's about it. Only recently did a glimmer of hope appear. This summer, the game received a minor patch, its first in 1,140 days, followed by a rebooted battle pass. On forums, it's easy to find posts from players lamenting Gamigo's management, mourning what Rift once was, and reminiscing about better days. Yet, it's likely that Gamigo was merely the symptom, not the cause of the game's decline. Today, the player base has shrunk
Sad.
dramatically. Even though Rift once had tremendous potential and a passionate community, the game's Steam population peaks around 200 concurrent players, with more using the standalone client. Some forum users are even organizing reroll projects, gathering groups to relaunch characters on an empty server and start from scratch. Such revival projects also happen occasionally in World of Warcraft, where players breathe temporary life back into dead realms. But in Rift's case, it's doubtful that much will change. Major updates have been absent for years and probably won't return. Still, it's hard not to admire the loyal community that continues to keep the game alive year after year against all odds.
I mean, what keeps keeping like Classic WoW and all these other versions of Classic alive right now is like the Classic hardcore community, right? They keep coming up with new hardcore ways, like double hardcore, triple hardcore, not really soft, still veiny hardcore. I mean, at some point, I think they're just going to blindfold themselves and like do a blindfolded leveling challenge. I don't know, pretend you're blind for a day. That is keeping community events are what's keeping Classic alive right now, at least until Classic Plus comes out, and then that's going to change everything, I guess. But nice video. WoW solo community certainly in existence. I think those servers are like only 100 people on, and that's freaking hilarious. But yeah, the game even in retail has become much more soloable for sure. Greg from accounting, great example, and many others out there who just log in every day, run their delves, and log off. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, they're paying a sub just like the rest of us. Nice video from Necro War.